On behalf of the All-Star Football Officials Association Training Committee, I want to welcome you to our third video for the 2020 season. Hopefully, if you're watching this in order, you're finding the videos to be helpful, and that's really all we want is to get your mind off kind of things going on in the world, get you focused on football, and hopefully you get a little bit from them, get you opening the book and looking at some other things as well. But in this video specifically, we want to look at a couple scrimmage kick plays, punts to be specific, and how we enforce the fouls that occur during these plays. Again, don't concentrate so much on whether or not you think it's a foul or position of the officials or stuff like that. Just think about the scenario we give you, what you've got in front of you, and as an official, how you would enforce that. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and dive into them. All right, well, here's a really fun play I'll walk you through. Basically, you're going to have a punt here, just a normal scrimmage kick here. You're going to have kick catch interference, and you're going to have an inadvertent whistle. So really fun, and as you see this play progress, kind of walk you through it. So kick catch interference right there about the 20, loose ball, but the whistle's already been blown. White picks it up, but it's really irrelevant again because we already blew the whistle. So what we got is a mess, and that's for sure. But again, there's going to be a lot going on here. You know, White thinks they have the ball. Green heard a whistle. They know there's a foul. So, you know, a lot going on. So the biggest thing is, you know, get down there, get your heads together, and talk through everything that happened, and we'll figure out how to enforce it. So in this case, you saw the flag go on the ground right there at about the 20. So you had kick catch interference. You also had the inadvertent whistle, which killed the play. So you don't have the end of a kick. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, the kick didn't end because the whistle blew, and so therefore you can't enforce PSK or any of that kind of stuff. You can't let the receiving team keep the ball because they did not possess it before the whistle was blown. So in this case, I know it gets complicated. It's actually pretty simple. You've got kick catch interference right there at the 20, so you still got a foul. Even though we had an inadvertent whistle, you still have a foul. So we're still going to enforce that foul, but again, because you didn't have the end of a kick, the only way to enforce this foul is from the previous spot. So again, the kicking team's coach isn't going to like this very much, but it is what it is. There's no other way to enforce it. The only other way is if the receiving team were to decline the penalty and you just replay it down from the previous spot, but that's not going to happen, obviously. So go back to the previous spot and force the penalty, which in this case would be 15 yards. Or again, if you're inside the 30 and half the distance or whatever it is. But again, it seems complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. We'll go back, and again, because we're always thinking of the clock, what do? Inadvertent whistle. We're always going on the ready for play. So again, it could get pretty complicated, but if you just slow it down, break it down, hey, as soon as you know you had an inadvertent whistle, can't have the end of a kick, so you've got to enforce from the previous spot. All right, so straight out of the gate on this play here, you can see that the offense has had a little trouble lining up. They've got, depending on how you look at it, 5 or 6, maybe more than that in the backfield. We see at the snap as we get going. We've got a flag. You can see from the other angle, we've got a flag from both officials. So we've got the formation penalty, gets down here, is touched, is scrambled around, somebody dives on it, and it cuts before, it's going to cut to the end zone before you can kind of tell. I think okay, so he did point. So Black has the ball. You'll see it again from here. Let me speed it up. See from here, we do have a flag, and we've got a bunch going on down here, killing it because it's a kick, all that fun stuff. So as we're going here, see, we go back to the start of this play here, and we'll kind of go to the end. So after everything's going, we know we've got a kick, we got a penalty. Remember, they changed the rules a couple of years ago. So there are some options. Because Black had the ball, there are options, right? So In this case, we have the formation penalty. Black keeps the ball right there. Let's say they give it to him at 35. So don't forget the option now, or we can back him up 5 and re-kick, which he may want to do because that was a pretty good punt for having him kind of pinned back pretty deep. Or they can take the ball, they can tack on the penalty from the end of the kick, which in this case, again, let's say it's at 35. So we tack that on. It would be 1st and 10 for Black at the 40. But just kind of hypothetical here. Let's say Black didn't touch it first. Let's say White touched it first at the 40, but Black thought, they thought he touched it, so it scrambles. Then Black touches it, get on anyway. Black ends up back with the ball again at the 35. So remember, when they implemented this rule, if the receiving team is going to take the penalty after taking possession of the ball, you just don't forget that that's from the end of the kick, right? Not first touching. So they, again, hypothetically, let's say White touched at the 40, they couldn't go back and say, well, we're going to take first touching at the 40 and then also tack on 5 yards. It doesn't work that way. So in this case, pretty simple. They had 2 options: take the ball at the end of the kick at 35 and tack it on, or back them up, which, believe it or not, in this case, they actually backed them up and made them re-kick it. Either way, they have that option. But just again, remember, it's not automatically declined because they have the ball, and it's not automatically replayed because they get it either. They just remember they do have those options either way. And also with this play, because we always want to consider the clock anytime we enforce a penalty. In this case, I told you that the receiving team elected to replay the down. So in this case, you see the ball ends, or the kick ends inbounds, and there was no fair catch, and R is not the next to put the ball in play. So in this case, it's going to be on the ready for play, and we'll go from there. Okay, so in this play here, you're going to have fouls by both teams after the ball is kicked. So I'm going to let it play through one time and kind of see if I can point them out, and then we'll slow it down and break it down and talk about what we got. So you're going to have a block in the back right there. Picks it up during the return. Going to have a personal foul for a face mask right there. So we're going to let this play through and kind of break it down just a little bit. So everything's clean there. See, bam, block in the back right there, about the 40. 39, 40. If we get the 40, we're good enough. The kick itself was muffed. So again, remember, the kick doesn't end until it's possessed. So we still have a kick. So we have a foul by the return team during the kick. It's very important to talk about timing here. That is not during the return. That is during the kick. So think about PSK. Do we have it? Do we not have it? In this case, it's a foul by the return team before the end of the kick, and everything else. So it does qualify for PSK. So also, let's see, you have the end of the kick right there, about 39, 40. That'll work. So penalty and the end of the kick are almost identical locations in terms of yard line anyway. So as we keep going, everything's good. You're going to have a foul on the kicking team. I know it may look a little crazy, but you're going to have a foul on the kicking team in this case for a personal foul face mask during the return. So we'll just kind of let that play out, and you'll see you'll have foul here for the block in the back, and then you'll get the foul coming there for the personal foul face mask. So just talking about it, remember, we have a PSK foul. We've talked about, you've got the different factors that have to go into, but we have determined that we do have a PSK foul, which is on the receiving team, and then we have the personal foul face mask. Now remember, because it's PSK foul, that return team does have the option, right? So they don't, just keep in mind that these fouls don't automatically offset. Now they can, depending on if both teams accept the foul, then they will offset, but they don't have to. So in this case, that's going to be up to the receiving team. So remember, the PSK foul. So if they want to keep the ball, that's essentially what you want to know. You go to that receiving team's coach. We've got a foul on both teams. Do you want to keep this ball or not? If he says yes, and you say, all right, if you want to keep the ball, you have to decline the penalty for the personal foul face mask, and then we'll enforce that block in the back from, in this case, I know it's kind of confusing, but in this case, the end of the kick and the spot of the foul are both the same. So let's say, so either way, it's going to be enforced from essentially the same spot. But let's say that block in the back was at the 40 and the end of the kick was at 10 yards further downfield at the 30 when he finally picked up the muff. So in that case, because that foul occurred before the end of the kick, we're going to go from the end of the kick. So that foul would have been enforced from the 30. Let's say you've got the foul at the 40 and the end of the kick was at the 50. He picked it up at the 50. Well, then the all but one, we would have gone from the 40 and backed them up 10 to the 30. So if that's confusing, you can play it back a little bit. Hopefully it makes sense. But point being, if the receiving team wants to keep the ball, they do have to decline that foul. It's not automatic. Remember, they have that option, so they can decline the personal foul face mask foul. Excuse me, the personal foul face mask. Decline it. Back them up 10 from the 40. It'd be 1st and 10 for the receiving team, the red team in this case. 1st and 10 from the 30. So just keep in mind, when it gets complicated like this, just because you got 2 fouls, don't mean they automatically offset. Get with your crew, talk about what you've got. Bean bag, foul, is it PSK? And if it is, think about your options and go from there. Also, just to clarify, PSK just really has to do with the spot of the enforcement. So even if that foul had happened clearly after he gained possession, so it's during the return, it's not PSK anymore because the foul happened after the end of the kick. However, the receiving team would still have the option to decline the penalty. It would just be enforced. In that case, it would be enforced from either the spot of the foul or the end of the run, and the end of the location of the end of the kick wouldn't have any relevance. So just because it's, when I'm talking about PSK, I'm mainly talking about, in this case, the enforcement spot. Just because if the foul had not been PSK, they still have that option to decline the kicking team's penalty and have that foul for the block in the back enforced either from the spot of the foul or the end of the run, depending on which hurts them worse. Okay, so in this play here, just like last, we're going to have fouls on both teams during the kick. But this one, you really don't have to overthink too much. We're going to have a foul. You'll see as I get going, there's going to be a foul for roughing the kicker. Pretty obvious roughing the kicker. And then when we get downfield, you're going to have a foul for kick catch interference. So I kind of talk through and explain a little bit as we get going. Let me speed this up here. They're going kind of slow. So you see, get going, kicks away. It's not deflected at all. Bam, they just take his plant leg out. That's 15 for sure. So again, that foul is not PSK because roughing the kicker is not PSK for the main reason because that foul occurred, what are we, at least 10, 12 yards, something like that, behind the line of scrimmage. So this does not qualify for PSK. Roughing the kicker is pretty much never going to qualify for PSK. So keep that in mind as we go. As we get downfield here, you see you got a receiver ready to field, ready to catch the kick, and then it's going to hit the kicking team guy right in the back of the neck, it looks like. Hit him in the neck, bounce up. So you got first touching, dead right there. Flag comes in for kick catch interference, obviously. And just a reminder, remember, on a free kick, anytime it hits the kicking team on the fly, it's automatic. But on a scrimmage kick, it's only kick catch interference if it hits them in the air and there's a receiver in the area that had a reasonable chance to make a play on the ball. In this case, that's pretty obvious. The guy was camped under. But let's say it hits him in the back, and the closest receiver was 10 yards. In that case, it would not be would not be kick catch interference. So just remember to distinguish the two between a free kick and a scrimmage kick. And you can dive into the rule book a little bit if you want to clarify that. But pretty simple. So in this case, obviously we've got the flag right there at the spot. We've got the end of the kick right there at the 43 or whatever. So this would be pretty easy as a crew when you get together. Hey, it's going to be quick, simple. Hey, no, this is a foul on both teams. We don't have PSK. And the logic behind that would be, if the receiving team declines the kicking team's foul, then it won't do any good because it's going to be automatically going to be 1st and 10 for the kicking team, so they don't want that. And obviously the kicking team's not going to decline the foul and just give the ball up. So in this case, it's a wash. Pretty simple. So again, I know the last example kind of got complicated because we had PSK, but in this case we don't. Pretty simple, just washes out. We go from there. We play 4th down and try again. Again, because we're thinking about the clock, what do we have? Just a ball, just dead right here in bounds, nothing going. So when we do replay this, 4th and whatever, we're going to start the clock on the ready for play. All right, for the sake of time, we'll cut it off right there. On behalf of the training committee, I want to thank you for watching. Hopefully everybody got a little something out of that, or at least got you thinking if something didn't seem right or something new, maybe to help you open the book and look in the rule book, case book, whatever it is. And again, guys, we put the videos up to help. Hopefully you're watching them. There are plenty of other videos from different associations around the country out there. Watch those if you just want to get your mind off things, or you're really starting to get into some training. Again, take a look at those. Take practice tests. The training committee, we're going to be putting out some more stuff as we move a little bit closer to the start of the season, whenever that is. We start getting some dates set and stuff like that. We'll keep you informed. But again, as these come out, take a look at them. Again, if you ever have any suggestions, you've got plays you want to look at, again, reach out to us and let us know. But on that note, I'll leave it at that, and you guys have a great day, and thanks again for watching.